Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the first in a series of videos surrounding these stones. So this was given to me in person by a viewer that I met. He only lives a couple blocks away, so it was really easy to meet up, and it's pretty cool to be able to actually meet people and have a look at their opal and have a chat. So I can't remember if I can say his name, so I'm just gonna say KG when I refer to him. So KG has bought a really low-end beginner's parcel. So we're talking like $50. I typically recommend that beginners that are wanting to get into the hobby try to find something around like a $250 mark, because then you can actually get some really decent stones. But this one, he was originally pretty disappointed, but when he met up with me and I had a look, there's some potential here, so I don't think he's actually going to be disappointed by the time we're finished. Now, you can see it's already in 3 bags. The thing I recommend people to do as soon as they get a parcel is to start sorting it like this. And I didn't tell KG about this before meeting up with him. He just did this on his own. So I'll flip him over and you can see he's stapled some little post-it notes to describe what they are. Now, this is a really good sign already. He's split it into 3 parts. So no color, 2 hard basket. That's a classic. So this should be all the sand shot kind of pieces or things with literally just no color. So potch. In the middle, he's got Black Potch Investigate, so he thinks there could potentially be something in there, and if there is, it could be on a nice backing. This is all lightning ridge material, so we do like to see that. And then he's got a little parcel here with some colour, possible facing. I'm not entirely sure what he means by possible facing. I'm guessing it just means that he can see that there's a colour bar and that it should, if it's clean, show up pretty good in the finished stone. Now, if you look at this ratio, for a $50 parcel, this is not that bad. There's not too much, like it's not all sitting down here in the garbage kind of rubbish pile. You expect a few to be in here when it's that kind of size, because this is quite a bit of weight over here. But you can see here, there are plenty of stones, like half the parcel is sitting here in the some colour, possible facing kind of thing. So if half your stones have got some colour in them, you're actually going to be pretty well off, especially for $50. Now, I'm going to try to keep these in his little piles because I think there are some that are in the wrong bag. So we'll go through that, and that'll be a good learning experience as well. So I'll try to keep them separate for all of this video, and we'll just go through and have a look and see how well he's done. And in future videos, we'll probably be carving up most of the ones that remain in this bag. We'll have a quick rub down and look at these ones. And then the no color, 2 hard basket, we'll probably set those aside and they won't appear anymore. So step 1, I'm just going to get these all out of the bag and we're going to examine them dry. Alright, so we'll check out the first bag. This is his no color, 2 hard basket little sort here. So this is what I would call the rubbish pile. And there's always going to be a little bit of rubbish in all of these. Now this one does have some color, but it is in that really, it almost looks like coral. It's really tough stuff to work with. And it looks like it's been already rubbed back and investigated quite a bit. You're going to really struggle to get anything out of that. I don't know if I would put it in the rubbish. I guess I probably would. It's not thick enough to be able to salvage something and double it because it's all kind of shot through. So that's a pretty good call. Some of these, I mean, we're just looking at some mottled potch. Doesn't really have anything at all. This one looks like it's basically the same as the initial one, except less color, no color. More of the same, bit of just potch with some sand on it. This looks basically like straight, not even potch, just rubbish. Same again. This one actually looks like it could be, it could be fossilized something or other, but really, all in all, there's no precious opal there, and once again, no precious opal. So he's done very well there just weeding out the stuff that's just not of very much interest. I mean, I still like the look of this one. It's kind of cool, but yeah, you're not going to cut anything out of it. So we'll get rid of those. And then we're moving on to his Black Potch Investigate one. This one, I would probably change what it's called and just say that it's, it's just the ultra gamble, possibly nothing but slim chance kind of pile. And I think I can see why. Even dry, I saw a little flash just in there. And why I'm looking at this dry is I like to be able to see these kind of marks. You can see where it's been chipped, fractured. You can see where people have rubbed it back and had a look at it. And also it'll identify any crazing, which isn't so common with lightning ridge material. But I can see what he means. He's got that tiny little dot of colour, even dry. and it's right on top of this really dark potch, which means you could possibly get a stone coming down this side. I mean, we've got to remove a lot of material, but a saw makes short work of that. Another one here. Now this stuff it's so hit and miss, and a lot of the time is just completely sand shot. And I'm not seeing much color, but this is dry, so it just looks like sand encased opal. It could potentially have something, but you just need to rub back one of the sandy sides or both of them and find out. So I can see why that's in there. And then this one I actually think it could possibly belong to the rubbish pile. There's not a huge chance, but we'll dunk it in water and just double check. To me, I'm leaning for this one to shift into that lower pile. Now we're moving on to some color possible facing. If you get a beginner's parcel of this kind of budget, like $50, and you get it this many stones that have some sort of color, you're actually doing incredibly well. Here I can see a really strong bar around this top edge. Hopefully it doesn't get too lost in the sand over there. And there's a second bar here. So this might be a slice down the guts and get 2 stones out of it. I know KG and I are working on a bit of a project idea, but I need to find some green on black, basically, for his idea to come through really well. I look forward to hunting for that kind of stone for him, and this one could potentially be something like we're looking for. We only need tiny little stones, like half carat green on black, so that is a really nice stone, even dry. Now, rummaging through a little bit more, this type of material is really hard to get anything out of, especially when the sand is in there like this. And I'm not seeing a lot of color, but still dry. We'll give them a dunk in water. This one, see a little bit of color right on the edge. Could be a stone. He's graded that one well. Oh, that one's got a really nice flash. It's coming up on camera pretty well there as well, even dry. So there is something there. If that sand comes through clean, that's a nice little stone there. You can see that it's just coming through on the other side. This looks like a pea knobby that was sliced in half for whatever reason. So I wonder if the matching half is in here. No. So we've got half a pea knobby. It could potentially come through. This one looks like really dark potch, and on the other side we're seeing color coming through. It's not quite shining through the skin, so it might only be a sliver on that edge, because it's not coming up on the other side either. But you never know, we might be able to hunt that one with Dremel and find something. So this one's a little tricky. You can see that there's a nice flash, a very directional kind of pattern there, but pretty nice. Tempting to put it in the pile like this, but I would probably downgrade this one because I think it's going to be very hard to get anything out of. It's just enticed him, I think, with that. But we'll give all of these a wet, and who knows, if it shines through on the rest of it, that could be okay. Maybe double it because the backside is looking pretty rough. Another one here, can see the color in it, can see potential. It's coming through on the other side, just in here as well. Could possibly, it's a weird shape stone, but rubbing that flat and then getting a face on here could still be good. Now this one's interesting. Sometimes these just get completely shot with sand, but I do see some fairly clean crystal, and there is a flash of color right down this edge. So if it does face underneath here, could be on a winner. Now here's a prime example of why you look at it dry first. Can you see all of this? All of this crazing. I bet you when it's wet, that'll be much harder to see. So this one I would automatically downgrade and put into the pile below, if not the bottom pile, because crazing, we just don't want to see it. Even if there is a little bit of color in this crystalline, this is it's been through a rough time, this stone. So that one is one that I would also downgrade, and maybe it wasn't seen just because it was wet. But dry, to me, that is clearly crazing quite significantly. So this one is most likely not going to be all that great. Next one, maybe can get a doublet out of it, but this one too I would downgrade a notch and put in the heavy gamble kind of pile, because I don't see much. There might be a slight purple hue to the crystal, and it probably will look much better underwater, but yeah, it's probably not one of the stones you jump straight into when you get this parcel. This one I would also downgrade. It's definitely got a little bit of color, but it's not clear where it goes or how this sand is going to play. It doesn't look like it's going to play nice. Now these ones are always tempting. If it does clear up, it looks like the precious opal might be scattered throughout the host rock, which is not ideal, but even if it cleans up and there's a thin layer on top of this dark potch, we could be on a winner there. It's that one will be touch and go, but check the edges and it could be good. And I think this is very similar. Yeah, it's almost the exact same style. So check the edges, and at least this time I can see that this bar is sandwiched between two bits of black. And that is always promising. We just got to pick the right side to look for. And it'll most likely be coming down with this being the face and this being the back. And we might end up with a really small black stone. I can see the color bar coming through here. So that'd be the edge. You're looking at, yeah, quite a small stone. If it's clean and clear, it'll do a good job towards making back his initial down payment on this parcel. So that's also a pretty good promising one. We've only had to downgrade a few. And now I'll chuck all of these, all three piles back in the water and we'll have a look. All right, water time. So we're back to looking at the rubbish pile and see how this, it does look like nice little crystal, and I would keep this as a specimen. Like, a kid just getting into opal would love this, but in terms of cutting and carving, we would really struggle to even get a doublet out of that. There's sand all through it. It's not that thick, but it does show something, especially in water. Maybe just chuck it in a jar and keep it there. The rest of these, I've already had a quick look, and they're exactly as you'd expect. There's nothing there. So those ones are discarded, and we will just chuck them back in the bag of rubbish. Then moving over to the Black Potch Investigate ones. So this one here, it's really not showing that much. It could literally just be some Black Potch, but we can quickly, I mean, it only takes 5 minutes to get the diamond burr onto it, and we'll just take back the edge and just make sure there's nothing there. And if there is something, we'll take down one of the tops, the top or the bottom, and just reveal it. But yeah, again, this one's still not looking like much. It's just sand shot potch, basically. This one's pretty rough. I thought there might be something in there, but it really doesn't look promising. I would be shifting that one over to the rubbish pile. This one here, you can see that there's that little bit of hope just there, that glimmer of hope, and maybe just because of its proximity to this darker based stuff, maybe something will sit there, but it'll be a really small stone, and I don't see it on this side, so I think that one's a bit of a lost cause as well. Then there was the final pile, the one with the colour, and see that split in half P-knobby, that it's showing glimmers all the way around. This one we're definitely going to rub back and check, because that could be a half decent stone. This one is more of a carver's piece. It could potentially have something in it. It really doesn't, it's not leaping out at me, and it looks like it'll be pretty tough. We will carve it back and see if we can find anything. And a few of the other pieces, they're all fairly similar. This is that one with the two potential stones. So one up there. Bit of clever slicing. It might even be a better stone in here. That could be double-sided. So that one is really high hopes. That's the one that I'd be hinging this entire parcel on. We can take back this and check out all the way around each of those color bars. But this one is the real shining star of this parcel. Got that other little knobby that looks like it's been sliced down the guts. Could potentially have something. They're all got a little bit of color. This one I thought might look a bit better under the water, but it really hasn't come through much more, so I would definitely be downgrading this one. It's just, I mean, you could cut this tiny little section here, and you'll get 1/10 of a carat stone, but really there's not much, and it's quite directional as well. So yeah, overall, a lot of these stones are going to be pretty tough, and most of them aren't going to yield anything, but all we need in one of these $50 kind of parcels is to just have 1 or 2 stones work out, and you could still be alright, especially with Lightning Ridge. If anything lands on some dark base, you are flying, because for $50, this parcel exceeds my expectations. If someone throws $50, I don't expect them to get anything really. $50 is really low, unless you're looking at Boulder and you get a couple nice pieces. So that crystal is basically absolutely transparent. Slight purple hue, but that's about it. And I can't actually pick which one was the stone with the crazing. Oh, here it is. So you can still see the crazing. It's a little less obvious, but in this stone you can definitely see it. That's some severe crazing. That is definitely in the downgrade pile. So I wouldn't even really bother doing too much with this one. That is crazed beyond belief. And that could just be because it was, I don't know, sitting in the sun for too long. That can happen. Yeah, whatever did happen, it's happened and you can't reverse that. It's not really worth stabilizing stones like these. These aren't high value. And even on high value stones that start getting some sort of crazing or a crack, most of the time it is actually better not to treat it at all. You lose a lot of value in doing that. A little bit of color in that thin crystal part, but really that's another stone that would be downgraded. So I think he's done a pretty good job for someone that's not that deep in the opal world. And he'll only learn, and hopefully others can learn from this video as well, so they don't make the same mistakes. Because the smaller you can make this pile of really interesting stones, I mean, ideally it's huge because you've got some really good stones in your parcel, but you really do need to be able to identify some of the potential money earners and stone cutters, and just focus on those first, see what you can get, and then you can, if you've got time, start looking at the more slim picking kind of options. Otherwise you'll spend a lot of time working a lot of stones that aren't going to work out, because it's just unavoidable. It's always going to, every parcel is going to have some duds, and the less you pay, the more common that is. Unless you're going for opal rubs, then you're always going to get some sandies, you're going to get some cracked ones, you're going to get all sorts. Crazing. You hope not to get too much crazing, because I don't really think people should be selling crazed stones, but they do, especially in low-end parcels. This is an interesting piece, but yeah, it looks like it's just thin bar on the edge. Just caught the edge of it. There might have been a nice stone attached to this, but that's the way the stone cracks and the cookie crumbles, and yeah, hopefully this has helped. We will see some of these stones in frame at the moment on the channel in the very near future when we start rubbing them back, and we might rub, which one was it? We'll rub the edge of this one, but for the rest of them, the rubbish stones that are over here, we're not really going to do too much with those. Those are just going to get bagged up and set aside, but we've definitely got plenty to look at, so yeah, I better get ready to get into it.